We were 14 and 15 sunbathing in 25-degree Saskatchewan northern weather. We have sun in our hair, which will make hers blonde and mine orange. I won't know about whiteness and white supremacy and beauty standards for a decade or so. Laughing at our lumps and imperfections, pointing out our scars and scabs. My stomach hurts so bad from laughing so hard and so long. An older woman walks up to us on the stony beach, and I think she's going to tell us to shut up. She leans over to our mess of spit sunflower seeds, Fresca bottles, and suntan oil, and says something that cannot be made out over the boats and music haunting Tobin Lake. Remember this day, she gestures to us. How happy and confident you are. Hold on to this. We stare, probably stupidly, at her moxie. That moxie, we will learn, is beautiful. Teaching us to remember happiness is beautiful. Learning that this confidence, this gorgeous and peeling laughter happiness exists and belongs to us is beautiful.
I stepped farther from the pebbly beach and into the brown water of the bay. The Mi'kmaq called this Wegobegicht, which means end of the flow. It occurred to me that this is what we could give Angus. This was his inheritance. Red mud between his toes, salty skin, and wind-tangled hair. I wanted him to know how it felt to stand ankle-deep in the water and feel the tide pull him toward the bay. I wanted him to take his first driving lessons on the Londonderry back roads, dust kicked up, clouding the rearview mirror. I wanted Angus to recognize the curved highway along the bay, low-lying blueberry fields, and bright, bleeding sunsets, and call them home.
Isidore has traveled back home to Shotgun Alley. It has been 1 year since the funeral and scene 2, titled Leaving Home. Over tea, Auntie and Isidore are going through a small box of keepsakes and photos. Auntie, thank you for bringing these. Do you think it helped? I think it will help. I think you holding on to it for us was the best course of action. You hear what happened to Mutt and his pack. Mutt is Isidore's childhood friend. I did. Another funeral. Another funeral. We'll go together.
My dad said, Kiskisi ite igi bimuhtechik kimusumak ewakukumak. Remember where they walked, your grandfathers and your grandmothers. Egwa ite igi itakuskatakik aski umaskisinuawa. Where their moccasins touched the earth. As I touched the earth, I remember that they touched that earth.
I have dreamt of you 1,000 times, and still it is never enough that I can't run backwards into the hazy before. The paradox of raising oneself begged for another chance, and here I find you, childlike wonder, unhindered by the obscenity of premature grief. I have embraced your slight frame every chance I get, and you smell of L'Oreal Kids strawberry smoothie shampoo, comforted by the familiarity of stolen girlhood. I have carried you just as long as you carried us, a family unforgiving and far too young to be changing baby diapers, although you find yourself mother and child entangled. Oh, child, I dream of us together, and no reality could bear the responsibility of the both of us together. Instead, I find myself chasing this shifting starlight miracle. We exist still, and you survive it all in the end.
I'm stuck in my body, mapping territories, rupture and renewal, tracing topographies, relating echoes to raindrops, seismic upheaval, tectonic histories interlaced with waking buds. Knee-deep in three rivers, what has, what will, what is. I am cosmology, you say. I am universe, scattered as loose defiance down the side of a mountain that the wolves climb to converse with the moon.
Kitchen story. My mother says she has something to tell me. Turns to me from the stove, where potatoes boil and bump in the pot. I stand still to hear, a bundle of forks in my hand for the table. You are half Indian, she says, and a thrill runs through me, like finding out I'm part dragonfly. But when you go to school, if anyone asks, say you're of English descent, like my father, not like her.
Hear the rain drip over air conditioning. There is nothing in the metal gray painted iron walls. I cannot fill my grandfather's lanky skeleton into this now comparatively small locker, though his bones rattle me into and out of sleep on the bunk beside that iron cavity. The locker is locked behind my cell door, yet open to my consumption, and so I empty myself into each swallowed pocket of iodized salt I become, looking out from the back of a sheriff's paddy wagon.
I saw the transformation from couch and bay into the big dirt. When the smell hit, houses started out as cottages, then progressed into hovels of crumble. More than human relation, piss-stained white. Untrained eyed clock at his dumping grounds. Trampolines with voids where the jumping mat used to be. Underneath res porches, military burial grounds for those automobiles who bravely sacrificed their lives during the American Indian Movement War. Bodies of metal melting back beneath the soil to complete the cycle. Pull-out couch has springs stabbing through the English arms, the sofa back. A lesser mind might grieve the graves, I hear you say. Lovely collection of filth piled part way to the high world. The first shack to be awarded the Order of Canada.
Nightingale. The hawk screams, red-headed and long-beaked. No, that's woodpecker. On my window, knock, 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 fills the room, knock, 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 with his yearning, knock, knock, knock. He can stuff the world with his desire like he's padding a nest. Wait, that's Coyote, wearing a red trucker cap. On the side of his Chevy pickup, tap, 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 claws click, tap, tap, tap. His longing, tap, 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 crowds my dreams. My subconscious is his domain.
Being queer was the thing about myself I kept having to tell people because otherwise they would not see it. Being Indigenous was the thing about me everyone knew, except me.
The softest things die first. I wanted something too once to survive, which is to say, long enough to remember the moles on her skin almost to be a Sundance. They used to send yellow canaries into coal mines, handcuffed, then sprawled, pirouettes in the dark to its own creation song. Every breath is a test of the lethality of this kind of country.
Dead Oj Dishnikas reading an excerpt from my upcoming novel, I Write. My shoes weren't up for the slash piles. Mulchy, orangey streaks stained them as I scraped through broken cedar roots. An enormous old growth calls me to the top of the slope. Forcing through piles of upended salal with hiding holes that could twist an ankle, my foot slides through. There's just a big void underneath, a root ball that's broken up. A panicky moment that I'm trying to communicate in the paintings. I go slower, testing each step for firm logs, one to the next. It's harder than it looks. That tangled thread will be the third painting, if I can figure out how to do it.
Dream worlds. I smell the leaves heavy and wet upon the damp earth. I glance down and I see you, your small hand curled into mine. Stories spill from your lips, scattering like stars across the midnight sky. And in that moment, I feel you, the one who's been mine far longer than time has allowed you to grow. My son, unborn, held in the folds between worlds. You look up at me with familiar eyes, soft with history, mirroring my own.
There are those that say we have lost our stories, that our history has left us remnants of culture, and the parts we lost were the tales we told our children of spirits, the Creator, and how the land came to be. These were replaced by other stories, ones of floods and commandments and Jesus and God. Well, we also told of floods and laws given to us by the Creator. Perhaps it left us easy to convince that the Creator was God and the spirits were devils and the land had to belong to someone, which of course was rarely us. Or perhaps the children that slept beside 50 others in a school prison had to believe there was a God that would save them from his servants. I would pray then too.
I put a rock through Seth's windshield and remembered what that elder said. When you set fire to stone, the grandfather that's in it sacrifices its spirit for our healing. Kira told me this, and I believe it too. I don't know if I sleep any better knowing I'm the reason Seth had to pay to fix his vehicle, but I do feel good knowing that when I wanted to do something like that, I had the muscle to do it.